In 17.1, we added an enhancement actually to an existing feature in the Panorama QC folder. This is an enhancement to the QC data import and file storage. To give a little context on the upload process for the Panorama QC folder, there are three programs that work together. There's AutoQC, there's Skyline, and then there's a LabKey server. AutoQC is set up to watch a specific directory for new QC sample data files coming directly from an instrument. Once an instrument puts a file into that directory, AutoQC will take that file, run it through the Skyline application, and put the QC sample results into a pre-existing Skyline file. Then AutoQC will upload that file into the LabKey QC LabKey Panorama QC folder. So the interesting about that pre-existing Skyline file is that it aggregates all the QC samples uploaded over a specific period of time, and then it will archive that file after that period of time is done and start a new file. So that pre-existing Skyline file gets uploaded into the LabKey Panorama QC folder every time there's a new sample, along with all of the previous samples for that time period. So before this update that I'm about to explain, on the LabKey side, we would just parse that file for the new samples that were added to it, just to avoid uploading any duplicate data. However, there are two issues with doing it this way. One being that a copy of the Skyline file that was uploaded was attached to the new samples every time they were uploaded. The file was as is, including the previously uploaded samples. So these files would actually add up over time. They're not very big files, but they do take up space on the server when there's quite a few of them, and most of that data is just duplicate data. The second problem was that if there was an instrument setting and it affected a previously uploaded sample, the sample, since we didn't want to upload duplicate data, the new sample data for a previous sample would not be updated when that upload occurred. So what we did with this upload was every time now when a Skyline file is imported into the LabKey Panorama QC folder, any previously imported QC samples and its associated data that is in that Skyline file will now be deleted out of the LabKey database in that Panorama QC folder, and then all the samples will be imported new with fresh data. So this just ensures that we have all fresh data, all the most recent data for all the samples. Secondly, if a previously uploaded Skyline file had all of its samples overwritten in the Panorama QC folder in the LabKey database, then that file will be deleted from the server. It just prevents these files from building up. So to kind of walk through an example here, this is actually what we do for our automated testing to test this feature. So we have QC1, QC2, and QC3. These are all Skyline files. If you can imagine AutoQC uploading them one at a time. I have all three of them on the server already. But AutoQC would upload the file. It would import the data in a similar fashion. And, all right, the import is complete. Now we can see that we have one run imported that's attached to the QC1 Skyline file. Just to give an idea of what was in there in that file, we have three samples, or three replicates here, 01, 02, and 03. And we have some replicate annotations. This is just what I'm using for example data, but there's lots of other data that obviously that's associated with all these replicates. So you can see we have three replicate annotations, one for each 01, 02, and 03 replicate. Now, if you look at the files, you'll see QC1 .sky.zip file is still there. There's a log file, and then this QC1 directory, which is actually the QC, the Skyline file unzipped, and it's basically the contents of this zip file in there. Now, if I upload a second QC Skyline file, import it the same way that AutoQC would import it. And now we'll see. So this second file, I'll go to replicates first. So it had three samples in it. It had samples 2, samples 3, and samples 4. As you can see, samples 2 and 3 were duplicate data from QC1. Now they've been overwritten, and they are now associated with QC2. QC1 was not in QC2. I'm sorry, sample 1, replicate 1 was not in QC2. So it was not overwritten. It's still associated with that file. If we look on the server, QC1 and QC2 are both there because they both have sample data associated with them. If we look at the upload log, we'll see that we actually log when we overwrite any sample data. So here we can see that the samples 2 and samples 3 were overwritten with QC2. And all the files still exist because, like I said, QC1 was not QC2, which is samples 2, 3, and 4. Now, if I upload QC3, now QC3 is very similar to QC2. It's got samples 2, 3, and 4 in it. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to replicate annotation. This is some of the data that was associated with QC1. Now, after the upload, we'll see that sample 2 has been the data has been updated with new data, new sample data. QC1, sample 1 is still there because it was associated with QC1, not overwritten by QC2. All right, and so now QC3 has samples 2, 3, and 4 in it, so it will basically completely overwrite the samples that were uploaded in QC2. So I'll import the data. And if we look at the replicates, before we had samples 2, 3, and 4 were associated with QC2. Now I'm going to refresh this. Now we have samples 2, 3, and 4 are associated with QC3. And if we look at the files, now we'll see that the directory for QC2 has been removed because all of its samples have been overwritten. The Skyline zip file for QC2 has been removed. There's only a log that remains. That's for auditing purposes. Similarly, if you look in the pipeline, QC2 upload still exists here for auditing purposes as well. And in the import logs, you'll see that samples 2, 3, and 4 were overwritten. And then we'll see down here that all related sample files for QC2 have been overwritten, and we're going to delete qc2.sky.zip and the QC2 directory.